Today, we're setting the stage for a story of just unimaginable physical decay paired with this absolutely unbreakable mental fortitude. We're going to unpack the incredible life, the brutal realities, and the absolute iron will of King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem.
Imagine a king who felt no pain, even as his body withered away. Just let that sink in for a second. That is the gritty, unrelenting reality of the boy who would go down in history as the Leper King.
Chapter 1. The Numb Prince, covering ages 9 to 11.
Okay, so put yourself in his shoes for a moment. You're a 9-year-old prince, you're out wrestling in the courtyard, and you're actually winning. But your tutor notices something really terrifying. The other boys are scratching your right arm, and you don't even flinch. He brings you inside, presses a lit candle right up to your skin, and nothing. Zero reaction. Fast forward to age 11. A physician comes in, presses a needle deep into your flesh, still nothing. Now, you have to remember, in the 12th century, a diagnosis of leprosy was a final verdict. It literally meant your skin would blister, your fingers would curl inward like claws, and eventually, you'd go completely blind. For anyone else, it meant being entirely cast out of society. But, not for a prince of Jerusalem. What's truly terrifying here is just how incredibly fast he loses his youth. Look at this timeline. Numbness discovered at 9. The final devastating verdict of leprosy delivered at 11. And then, at just 13 years old, his father suddenly dies of dysentery while on a military campaign. So, ready or not, this sick boy is crowned king of the holiest city on earth. He's thrust right onto the throne exactly as his body is beginning to literally eat itself.
Which brings us to Chapter 2. The Teenage Leper King, at age 13.
So at 13, this boy king inherits what can only be described as an absolute nightmare. His kingdom, it's a fragile little strip of land totally squeezed between the Mediterranean Sea and a sea of enemies. His mother gets pushed aside, his tutor becomes his closest advisor, and his own barons are already basically calculating how long until he dies. Now, contrast this fragile, dying teenager with a guy on the other side of the border, Saladin. He is, without a doubt, the most dangerous man alive right now, systematically unifying the entire Muslim world from Egypt to Syria under one banner. And of course, he wants Jerusalem back.
Chapter 3. Miracle at Montgisard, at age 16.
Well, the clock finally runs out on peace. A massive invasion force violently crosses the border. 26,000. Think about that number for a second. That is the sheer, overwhelming size of Saladin's army heading straight for the Holy City. Naturally, Baldwin's advisors are begging him to just hide safely behind the city walls. But Baldwin, he flat out refuses. Against that massive 26,000-strong force, Baldwin rides out with 375 knights and a few thousand infantry. And by this point, the physical toll of his disease is heavily showing. His arm is so weak he can barely even grip the reins of his horse. Get this, a servant actually has to physically strap his shield to his numb arm because his curling fingers just can't hold it anymore. So they manage to catch Saladin's army near a hill called Montgisard, and Saladin is totally caught off guard. Baldwin orders the charge. 375 knights violently slam into 26,000 soldiers. And right in the dead center of that devastating impact is this teenage boy on a war horse. His body is failing, his sword arm is completely numb, but he's leading the charge. The shock is just overwhelming. Saladin's army completely shatters, and Saladin himself barely manages to escape on a racing camel. It's unbelievable. Against literal impossible odds, a teenage leper defeats the greatest general in the known world. Chapter 4. The Rotting Throne, age 18. By the time he hits 18, the disease accelerates, and I mean brutally. His right hand goes completely flat, just totally useless against the armrest of his throne. Deep sores crack open, and someone actually has to physically lift him onto his horse now. But the true battlefield has completely shifted from the desert to his very own court. Look at the setup here. Out in the desert, Saladin is patiently rebuilding, using his greatest weapon, time. Inside the court, it's just a nightmare of internal threats. You've got a scheming mother whispering in the corners, an ambitious but honestly completely unskilled French knight who married his sister, and these fractured barons just waiting to owe favors to whoever ends up winning. They are literally vultures circling a king wrapped in lemon. Chapter 5. The Silver Mask, at age 20. By age 20, the physical tragedy gets even deeper. His legs give out entirely. He has to be physically carried into the throne room, but he absolutely refuses to show weakness. The bandages on his face, he replaces them with a cold, silver mask. It is such a chilling visual. If the vultures in his court want to stare, he forces them to look at unyielding metal. And what that mask hides is a mind that, despite everything, remains razor sharp. And this brilliantly illustrates how, even though he couldn't walk anymore, he could still aggressively rule to secure his kingdom's survival against his own family's sheer stupidity. First off, he completely strips that reckless French knight of his claim for raiding a merchant caravan and nearly starting a war during a truce.
Next, he publicly humiliates his ambitious brother-in-law to assert total, unquestionable dominance over these fractured barons. And finally, he just bypasses the glory-hungry nobles altogether and appoints a solid, steady, honestly unglamorous northern lord as the kingdom's regent. Chapter 6. The Blind Commander, spanning ages 21 to 23. So at age 21, Saladin lays a massive siege to a fortress near the Sea of Galilee, and Baldwin's newly appointed regent? He gets too cautious. He refuses to attack. Well, hearing this, something inside the king just completely snaps. This crippled king, who hasn't walked in months, whose eyes are failing him, forces his servants to physically carry him to the front lines on a stretcher. He can't hold his sword, but the army rallies just at the mere sight of him, and when Saladin sees the banners of Jerusalem approaching, he withdraws. Without a single sword swinging, a crippled leper king on a stretcher makes the most powerful warlord in the Middle East turn around and walk away. But tragically, by age 22, he enters total darkness. His eyes fail entirely. He is now ruling Jerusalem from a bed he's never going to leave again, enduring agonizing pain with literally every breath. And yet, he's still making crucial decisions. Knowing full well that the French knight will destroy everything, Baldwin names his sister's infant son as his co-king and heir, forcing his lion barons to swear loyalty to the boy. He can't see their expressions anymore, but he knows. He knows they are just waiting for him to stop breathing. Chapter 7. The Final Price. Age 24. We enter the final year of his life. It's spring in Jerusalem, but the king can't feel the warmth on his skin, and he can't see the sunlight. His body has finally consumed itself. His entire 11-year reign was honestly like building a fragile, paper-thin sandcastle against the unstoppable tide of Saladin. He bought time with sheer agony and blood. He held a crumbling kingdom together through nothing but pure will, ruling through total blindness and constant betrayal at a time when much stronger men would have simply surrendered. So it really leaves you with this one huge, provocative question. If one man's sheer willpower held an entire kingdom together, what happens when, just 2 years after his death, that same reckless French knight faces Saladin at the Horns of Hattin? King Baldwin IV paid the absolute ultimate price to hold back history itself. But the moment his iron will was gone, everything he fought for was destined to fall. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, everyone. I really hope you're walking away with a deep appreciation for the incredible, tragic fortitude of the Leper King.